So I just wanted to jump on here and share some things that I learned from recording my recent short film, Becoming Poison Ivy. What's up? My name is Asha. I am an actress and filmmaker, and anyone who knows me knows that I love Halloween. Like, I love dressing up. I usually prepare my outfits like days in advance or weeks in advance so I could take pictures and all that stuff. And for some reason, last year, Halloween just like snuck up on me. Like, all the holidays actually did, to where I didn't even realize it was Halloween until the night before. And it was just like this oh shit moment where I'm like, what you about to do? So I was thinking about different looks that I could try, and I was inspired by a oldie but a goodie, a classic, Batman and Robin, the 1997 film. Now, anybody who knows that the most iconic look out of there was Uma Thurman's transformation into Poison Ivy. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the Poison Ivy look, and I was like, I want to do it. I want to do it, but I also wanted to put like a little spin on it. And something that I've been dedicating myself to since last year is forcing myself to make more short films. Something I was very blessed and lucky with when it came to my film journey is working with teams, having a team, whether I'm on set for a TV, film, or independent projects. I feel like I've always had someone around. And now I'm on this journey where I'm trying to learn to do things solo, because sometimes ideas hit you and you just don't want to grab a whole team, or you don't have access to a whole team. So I want to document this journey of doing it myself, what I'm learning along the way, and also people who have inspired me. And I will definitely be sure to post some of them somewhere in this video, because during COVID, there were some incredible creators that I came across, and I love their behind the scenes. I wish that for this project I had created behind the scenes, but I'm also realizing how hard it is to create behind the scenes too, to like set up the multiple cameras, the angles, to remember that it's running, and it is an art in itself. So shout out to them. But it is something I will try to do moving forward, because I do want to share my process, show how I'm learning, how I'm growing, and hopefully it can help someone else. But jumping in, this is what I learned from creating Becoming Poison Ivy. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working with teams, and for larger projects like my Sinful series, we're jumping back in the fall to create more episodes, and I definitely will need more hands on deck for that. So, more actors, there's more crew members, just costume, everything. It takes a village to bring that type of work together. But for short projects and creative projects and things that jump into my head and I'm like, oh, I want to create this, I had to learn how to do this. And so Becoming Poison Ivy was that first step. And the first thing that I did to help me was I created a storyboard. I have a little notebook, and I literally just broke it up into like a few different squares, and I was just drawing out each scene in each square of how the story would go. And mentally, it was like helping me with my shots of like, I want to catch this type of angle, and then I'm going to switch to this and then that. And so this actually helped the process to run a lot smoother, because I've tried to film things, just for myself before, and you kind of get lost. You start to get overwhelmed, and it's so easy to abandon something when you feel like, okay, what comes next? Now, even though I had a storyboard created, something that I learned with filmmaking is, you always come across unpredictable problems. And so even in my mind, though I'm like, oh, I'm going to catch this shot and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, when you're actually in the moment, things can fall apart, or they just don't work. It just doesn't work for whatever reason. So I had to be able to pivot, and 3 a.m. just be like, all right, what's going to serve the story? What's going to look good? What's going to, like, let's play. Let's just see what works. And in doing that, though, I actually caught some really cool shots that I wasn't even anticipating at first. Something else that I am learning is that it is okay when you're first learning something to kind of emulate things that you admire. And especially when it comes to like film, I've come to realize that, when you are inspired by a certain project and you are trying to recreate it, not taking credit for it, not stealing credit for someone else's work. I'm not talking about that. But I'm saying, like, looking at Batman and Robin in that Poison Ivy scene where Dr. Pamela Isley becomes Poison Ivy, and looking at like the colors that were used and like the angles and even the acting styles and stuff, when you endeavor to recreate, it's almost like you're taking something apart and you're realizing why it works and how it works and what components make it work. So it's something that inspired me, and a part of me wonders if, moving forward in the rest of the year, if that's something I'll keep doing as I'm learning my own style, as I'm learning, lighting and angles, trying some of the greats to recreate certain scenes and seeing how that just influences my journey and what I'm picking up. And that's something I did very heavily with this project, is I wanted to make sure, like for instance, the iconic green lights, the fog, and just even like that yellow tone that's on the skin. I really was trying to get as close to the original as possible. Now, of course, I know I'm not going to be able to hit it all the way, but it taught me something about using colors and all of that, and how it can give a feel and a vibe to what it is that you're capturing. I'm also learning for personal projects that less is more. I feel like, especially because I have a background in photography, that when I first years ago started learning how to work a camera, you think at first that equipment is the biggest thing. Like, I need the newest lights, I need this, I need that, or whatever. And then as you get into a flow, you start to realize that you don't even use half of that stuff. So when I actually was creating this, I only had my camera and two lights, one that I had lighting me and one that I had lighting the background and the plants, giving off that more yellow cast. I tried to also write with things that I knew were easily accessible to me. So I knew that I had expired food coloring, and I was like, oh, it's green, like I can use that and I can put it in a leftover prop bottle that I had. And oh, I have this leftover white doctor jacket that might be cool to throw in. And honestly, it's really about using whatever is around you. Like, I set up a little folding tray, like a eating folding tray in front of me, and use it as a desk. And I was like, well, as long as I don't shoot the legs, people won't know that it's a eating tray. And I also think being confined to a corner made me more creative about the shots and the angles, because I didn't have a lot to go off of. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I show this angle? And what if I shoot through the glass? And what if I, just playing with different things. Sorry, y'all, your girl is cold, okay? So I had to stick my feet in front of the heater. But jumping back in, when it came to this project, and yes, I have my notes, something that I am trying to embody and do is I'm trying to throw all the rules out of the window, and I hope to continue to do that for 2025. Like, I feel as though I've learned enough, in a sense, to be able to get me doing what I want to do. Sorry, my toast was getting crispy. I'm like, wait a minute, all right, you ain't supposed to do all that. But I feel like I learned enough to kind of get the gist of things and how to do things. And of course, I'm constantly learning, but I also don't want to get stuck in a box of how I think things should look and things should be done. And so I'm trying to just follow my instincts, follow myself, follow what feels right for me. What do I want to do? What do I want to see? And a part of that also plays into the declining attention span, where last year I created a lot of different pieces that were like 60 seconds or, less, or maybe a little more. And while that was fun, I feel like this year I don't want to limit myself. I want to create work that is telling a concise story in whatever way that I'm presenting it. And if people rock with it, they rock with it. And if they don't, they don't. But I don't want to chop something down, because honestly, I feel like if work is good, I will watch it. Like, I'm definitely a scroller. I've come across things that were short, I've come across things that were long, but as long as it was quality, it kept me. So I think that's what I'm more focused on, is like quality. Not worried about the length of time, but just like, what are we watching? So that's my goal for this year moving forward, is like, what am I creating? But for the sake of doing this solo, something that I also ran into with becoming Poison Ivy is I realized how difficult it kind of was to, first of all, act and then edit a conversation that was not truly being had, because the conversation between the doctor and, Dr. Pamela, there was no one there. I was just acting it out, and in my mind trying to allot the proper amount of time and response for, the conversation, the back and forth. And then I went back later and I used TikTok to record myself. Like I wrote out what the doctor would be saying to her for her to respond, and I wrote out those words. Then I used one of the voice like module things that can, switch it up. Recorded that, saved that video, sent it to myself, and put it on DaVinci Resolve. Took the video portion of it off and just kept the audio, and then started plugging that in the conversation parts. Now it came out really good. Like I think it looks good, but to myself and maybe to others, I can tell like it's a slight robotic voice. It's not a natural like person speaking. So moving forward, I'm going to be very careful with these shorts of not necessarily writing things that my character has to verbally interact with and get a response from. Just keeping the journey a little more solo for the sake of like editing and things like that. Speaking of editing, something else that I ran into, which I didn't anticipate at first was an issue, and I should have, is like I put music in it, and that was a problem for the different platforms that I posted it on. So what I noticed is that for TikTok would only allow me to use one song that was copywritten, yet I had two. What I ended up having to do is I put my original on YouTube, and YouTube was able to be like, okay, cool, you have copywritten music from these two artists, we're gonna credit them, they said you can use it, that type of thing. Boom, that was fine. But I ended up having to change the ending song to something royalty free for TikTok and use just one song, which you will see is Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. I couldn't take that out. It just was perfect. Like I couldn't. So I tried putting that in, and then the issue I ran across was not that it was copywritten anymore, but that the length of time that I was trying to use too much of the song, it said. So then I found myself trying to be like, okay, what do I do? So I ended up screen recording the length of time that TikTok played the song. They gave me like 1 minute. I recorded that, and then once again sent it to myself, put it into DaVinci Resolve, got rid of the actual footage and kept the audio. Then I took that 1 minute of audio and I actually plugged it into the spot where the music would start, and it's the moment like where I put on the headphones. That's when the music like kicks in. However, it was quite a bit left of time that I needed the music to continue to play, almost a minute more, for it to have hit that entire sequence of events. So I ended up having to chop it down, and this brought me to another very valuable lesson, especially when you're editing anything you've created. I don't really like the term, if you're familiar with it, kill your babies. So I'm gonna say destroy your precious. That's what I'm gonna say. Lord of the Ring fans, if you know, you know. Pretty much it's about, yes, you created this thing, you love it, it's your baby, but you have to kind of be able to step away from it to be able to tell like what it needs and what it doesn't. Not what you want, because you're gonna love a lot of it, hopefully, but what does it need? And so what I did was cut down quite a bit of that in order for that sequence to fit into the 1 minute mark. And I put it into TikTok and it accepted it. And then I realized something. I was shocked to find that I actually liked the TikTok edit more than my YouTube one. And it's not that it was drastically different, but something about cutting down that sequence just made it feel like the scene was moving a bit faster. It had more intent. Like, I learned from that, and I was like, okay, I need to keep this in mind moving forward. So then taking that, I then went to Instagram. And on Instagram, it's a whole other issue because Instagram only allows now 3-minute maximum reels. And my video was it originally was 5 minutes and 43 seconds. And then on TikTok, I had cut it down to about 4 minutes and maybe 20 something seconds. And now IG was telling me, you got to get this down to 3 minutes. So once again, I had to destroy something of the precious. And I decided to cut off some of the beginning and actually start the action from when I sit down. And another surprise is that I actually liked that edit more than I liked the TikTok one, because now I felt like it got straight to the point, straight to the story, straight into the action. And I still felt like the viewer was able to keep up with the story because of it. It's not like you lost an important detail. And so these are things I'm going to keep in mind as I'm moving forward with like storyboarding and, editing, like what really needs to stay here. And what if I took it away doesn't even affect the story at all, actually improves it. Something else I do want to also point out, just because for the majority of the filming I was doing this by myself, the only time someone else stepped in is when my brother gave me assistance with, I needed a hand to act like they were injecting the poison into the doctor's arm. So, he gave me a quick little cameo with that. But details are very important, and I realized that in editing, when like the sound of the doctor walking away or doctor speaking, the audio, just adding those little moments. Like I specifically went to like the YouTube audio library and grabbed distant footsteps so I can have that moment of him walking away after poisoning, Dr. Pamela. Then I also have the moment like where he kind of came into frame at the end and is like discovering her. And so little things like that, and also just keeping some original audio from when I was recording of just sounds, natural sounds of writing or falling on the ground, things of that nature. And I kind of like mixing that element a little more than projects I've created last year where I completely took the sound out and just put music over it. So I'm kind of learning to blend the two, and I'm really enjoying like how that is creating a more immersive experience. But speaking on that, I will be very careful moving forward, as I was talking about with music, of maybe not mixing so many songs into one piece, especially how like social media and copyrights and things of that nature. So, and I mean copywritten music. So if I do have a song that I'm building a vibe or a scene or something around, I'm gonna make sure that is the centerpiece, and anything else is like the royalty free kind of ambient music. This also is going to affect me moving forward of just being careful of time frames of how much of a song I'm using in different pieces that I'm putting on social media as well. But all in all, I had a great experience. I had so much fun. I just felt like I learned so many things, and I really do love the way that it looks. I'm so excited to just see how my work will be from like now and to this time next year. Like, what is it going to look like? And I have so many ideas of just things. I'm so inspired by like just the nostalgic vibe, things from my youth, things that I enjoy. And I just want to see if I could put a twist on them and how I can display them, or just the inspiration, and how I can break the rules, like how I can portray it in my own special, unique way. So keep an eye out if you want to come on this journey with me, because I already know what I'm doing next. Okay, I already know, and I'm just so excited for it. Also, before I get on out of here, I just wanted to be said that I am not lost in the irony of the fact that I'm talking about Batman and I'm wearing a Superman shirt, but I do not have a Batman symbol shirt. We will fix that. We will fix that. But thank you for tapping in and listening to everything I've been learning. If there's anything, tidbits or tips that you have that you could share, or any thoughts, like I'd love to hear them. But we about to figure this out.